Hey guys, Wendy Taylor here. I'm coming on tonight because I have a special announcement for you guys, so stick around for that. But I also have someone special that I'm bringing on, and I want to interview her with you guys. It's Dr. Sara Smith. So, Dr. Sara is a doctor of physical therapy. She's also an intuitive coach, and she has something she calls the core confidence activator. So I'm really excited to bring Sara on right now. If you're jumping on, let me know. Give me a hey, thumbs up. If you're watching this later, just hashtag replay so I can know you saw it. And if you're following along and you have any questions for Sara, be sure to ask questions and we will get back to you. Stay tuned to the end. We'll answer questions and we'll have an announcement for you guys. But I'm going to bring her on to share her story with you guys. Hey, we got somebody on. If you let StreamYard. Hey, Sara. So for any of you guys that are hopping on right now to meet Sara, let me know your name. Like if you haven't given StreamYard access to like permission to use your name, just say, hey, this is so-and-so, so we know you're joining us. So Sara, I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
I think a tiny lag, but that's okay. So Sara, I gave an introduction and they know you're a doctor of physical therapy. They know that you do this core confidence activator thing and that you're an intuitive coach. And I love it because what we do, it goes so well together. Tell them a little bit about your journey and how you got to the Sara Smith working with women in the place that you are today.
Yes, it is kind of a combination of a professional journey. So, you know, I have always really been interested in helping others. And so that has really motivated me to learn and continue my education, my certifications, and just my desire to understand what's going on. But it also paralleled really a personal journey. So I guess we'll share that one because it's probably way more fun and interesting, if it's interesting at all.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a pretty high rate of burnout in the profession of physical therapy. And being a fixer and an interesting person that I was, who really, you know, cared so much about others, I was getting burned out really quickly. I was getting sick a lot when I first started working. I remember my grandmother, who still at that time was a practicing physical therapist, and I remember talking to her on the phone one day and her saying, you know, you've really got to get your stress under control because it's starting to like spill out onto your family and to others. And I was seeing that in my own health. Which then led to, I was living in Richmond, Virginia at the time, which is a fantastic place to eat and drink and be merry when you're not working. And so I was doing just a lot of retail therapy, you know, eating out therapy, drinking therapy, like to kind of manage it all. And that, of course, was really only adding to the stress. So I personally started taking some yoga classes, and that really shifted everything. It shifted how I was treating the patients and the clients that were coming to see me. And it also shifted my really just whole perspective of how to work with somebody, how to be with myself, how to take care of myself, how to really go within. And that was kind of the crux of everything. It started shifting how I was, you know, where I decided to work, where we lived. It shifted, you know, then kind of how my professional career took off. And from there, when I got into the world of pelvic floor physical therapy and really working with the core, as we call it, which is a whole series of muscles. I won't geek out on that at the moment, but I also at the same time was pregnant, and I was experiencing yet again kind of another shift in my life. and trying to discover what it was that was important for me to feel and be well and to live well. And it was a wonderful first pregnancy. And then soon after my son was born, we discovered that he had, it took many years, several years, probably about three or four. But we discovered that he had an ultra rare genetic mutation and that he had severe speech apraxia. And so a lot of stuff then at that point shifted in our lives. A lot of questioning, a lot of, again, kind of stress that started to manifest. My attention really was taken in lots of different directions. And it brought me into a new place of a new opportunity of spiritual awakening and practicing core confidence for myself. Because if I wanted to be an effective mother and an effective, at that time, physical therapist, but also business owner, and I wanted to be an effective wife, I had to get really clear all of a sudden with what authentic Sara needed and wanted. I had to get really clear with my intuition so that I could be in all of these roles and not burn out, to be honest.
Jotting notes, because you have some nuggets. I feel like, when so many times we like blaze through interviews and then people will say things and I'm like, oh, like, so I want you to expand on a couple things. And we have some comments coming in. Kristen, hey, I'm so glad. If you're here, let me know who you are. Give StreamYard access so we can see you. So many good nuggets. And the first one that I wrote down was, you said in your personal journey, you noticed that you were getting sick a lot and you had a lot of stress and you realized that you had to get under control. I think a lot of women that are watching this can probably relate to that. Tell us more about, I think we all can probably relate to all of the things, like the being busy and the wine and all of that. But at the end of the day, you and I both know that the adrenal system is just running like crazy. The cortisol levels are spiking. Like what did you do when you found yourself being sick a lot?
Well, after I realized that my coping mechanisms were not maybe lending me the results that I really needed, I actually, what I did was radical self-love. Like I started to go within. I started to ask myself, what is it that I wanted? What is it that I needed? I got really honest and clear. And sometimes I didn't always know. And so then I would, and still to this day, sometimes I don't really know what I need, but I'm going to go through that process to discover and then experiment with it. So it also was really releasing the perfectionist, of like, I have to get it right, or there's like one answer to solve the problem. The other thing that, that was happening when I started, the particular yoga instructor that I was studying with was also very deep into the lifestyle and the philosophy and the spiritual aspect of yoga. And so I also learned really about like stripping it down and keeping it very simple. So it wasn't about like, okay, let me go like drastically change absolutely everything in my life and start from scratch and like, just eat a certain way and just exercise a certain way. Like it really wasn't about that. It was slowing it down and stripping it down into things that felt manageable, bite-sized pieces.
Digestible doses. Sorry, I had to do it. Pun intended.
I love that. Digestible doses.
Digestible doses.
Go, Wendy.
You said radical self-love, and that is one of my favorite books. by Sonia Renee Taylor. The Body is Not an Apology. I've wanted to do a book club with that for a long time. But you also mentioned how to go within. Sara, I know you have this technique, and I would love to learn more about that. I'm sure everyone else wants to know what this technique is too. And we have an announcement at the end. So we'll leave the announcement to the end. She can't give you all her tools in this 30 minutes, but tell us more about what this is, this thing.
Yeah. So on my personal and professional and on my own spiritual journey, one of the things that I've found is that within the pelvis, we hold a lot of stories. We hold a lot of stress. We hold a lot of issues. We hold so much within that. And thank you for sharing that, Kristen. Yes, we all need radical self-love. The pelvis holds a lot. And not only does it kind of hold what I'm going to define as like stress or trauma, but it also is holding our solutions. It is where we access our safety and our security in the world. It is where no one can touch us. It is where we are untouchable. And it is where our pure burning confidence and authenticity and grace and joy, and where that radical self-love all starts. Now, usually if you're in, let's say, a meditative practice, they'll get you to go right to the heart, right? Like, let's focus on our heart while we are meditating. And that usually we haven't gone low enough in the body. Okay, because normally, typically during the day, we're just all up in our mind and we're overthinking and we're not really accessing our creativity. And so when we just go to the heart in meditation, a lot of times we can be accessing our yes. We can be accessing our scared heart. We can be accessing our stress. We're not accessing truth. We're not accessing safety and security. So that's why I am so much about what I saw as a pelvic floor therapist is when you reconnect with that particular area of the body, then you're activating core confidence. And so it is a combination, like it's a literal how we're doing a Kegel, you know, so it's very physical therapy, physical-esque, but with the purpose of, if you're about to go into a board meeting, or you're about to go into a very challenging situation, or you need to communicate effectively, or you need to share with somebody your truth, that you access that from, and you awaken your core confidence in order to then have that experience go very, very well for all parties involved.
Can you share with us, do you have a story or a testimonial that you can share with us of someone that you've worked with, that you've helped, that you've seen changed through activating this core confidence?
Yeah, I obviously have lots of them. Let's see. One that comes to mind is a client who had a lot of issues with self-image, issues with body, really disconnecting from their body, avoiding, you know, what really they knew would help them, but they just kind of kept falling into that avoidance pattern. And when she started using this technique, it was fascinating. Suddenly, first of all, her energy for like the action steps that we created, like the energy was just there, like things were just knocking off the list. And before, she's like, good grief, I had these on my list for years. Like, why now? But she had accessed that energy. She accessed the why. And also, one of the things I really love to do is kind of, I call it going down the rabbit hole. Like, what are the fears? What are the reasons we're staying where we are? And so once we really paint that big picture, then suddenly we access choice again. And so in her case, we started, one of the things was actually not going into the body image first, because it was such a tender subject for her.
Mm-hmm.
And so in finding the path of least resistance, it was decluttering and reorganizing and creating radical self-love in her physical home environment. And once we did that, and she started making some shifts there, then naturally she found herself wanting to start engaging in some movement that, again, she had been avoiding for years because she just didn't feel good anymore doing it. She didn't like trust that her body was going to feel good, that it was going to be a great experience. So she started engaging in that again. She started like buying new, walking shoes, and was able to start walking again. She got back into the love of cooking. It was an incredibly beautiful experience where, it even started unlocking relationships in her life.
And you could see her come to the other side.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we talked about stress, and I know I want to talk about one more thing till we get to our announcement. What are some of the big challenges that you see outside of stress? What are some of the biggest challenges you see with women that come to you?
I'm so glad you're asking me this today, because I've been diving into, a lot of times I'll do like an intake form. And so I was really just reminding myself of this randomly today. And now you're asking me the question. Kind of the big ones are avoiding things and feeling like they don't have enough drive, motivation, focus anymore like they used to. Like I used to be an athlete, or I used to be very driven at work, and now I've just kind of lost that drive. I find myself going into more avoidance behavior, feeling overwhelmed, and also feeling like it's easier to fix everybody else's problems, and it's easier to focus on others than it is to focus on themselves. And inevitably that, goes into, they almost know what they need to do. Sometimes sometimes we don't know exactly, but know mostly what they need to do. It's just finding also the time and how to schedule it, and even to trust that their body and their experience will allow them for it to go well.
Yeah, I think
avoidance is my favorite coping mechanism.
I think, yeah, and you're not alone in that, Kristen. That's probably 99% of us want to avoid things. A lot of things that I see in the women that I work with, and I know you see them too, because we have so many synergies with what we do. We have another comment. No, don't feel called out. No, no,
you are not alone.
People are probably going, yes, that's me for sure.
Yeah.
And I
just filed through 60 of those intake forms, and the majority of them said that comment.
And I have the same thing. And I can tell you, it's so funny that we're talking about intake forms. That's what you'll fill out when you reach out to me. We have a call set up, and I'll find out more about why you want to talk to me. And 90% it is some type of avoidance, or it's in my world, it's weight loss. Weight loss is the driving reason and even though, this is stitching diets together, it's still valid. It's valid. And I understand that is completely normal too in the world that we live in today. And it's so easy to want to run to another diet. Yes, same. But it's so easy to want to run to a diet because diets are external, and it seems like it's something we can control, right? We can just follow this clean eating plan and everything will get better. And then we're in this endless cycle. So really we're avoiding what? The why. the why that we need to get to. So I love some things you said, Sara, where with what you do, it helped you go within, which is some of the toughest things for women to do if they've especially been dieting their whole life, to go within. To, you were talking about feeling your core and feeling and going in, and that is hard for me. And I'm in my head about other things, Sara, you know.
Yeah.
Food, you know, I'm an intuitive eater most days. I'm not saying there are days when, you know, no one's perfect. So no perfectionism here, no judgment. But yeah, it's like we're in our heads, we're in all other parts of our body. But when it's like come to our core, and it is so, so important. So what you do is so great with like what I do in helping women tap back into their bodies when I'm talking about like how they feel about certain things. You mentioned true authentic health, and that is something that I use all the time when I'm talking about this intuitive eating. It really is finding your true authentic health. And it's what I love about it is your true authentic health is different than my true authentic health and Kristen's true authentic health. We all have to come to that place and find out what that is for us. And
we do
that.
And it usually our brain tries to tell us, and if we're looking externally, we start telling ourselves and feel like we're hearing, well, this has to be hard. And it really doesn't. It's actually just about like stripping away what doesn't work. Like, I don't know if you've ever, you know, Wendy, I'm sure you have heard of the 80-20 rule. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like 80% of our results come from 20% of the work. And so it is a big, giant myth that all of us, myself included, have to keep reminding ourselves of, is this doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be awful to go within. We're not going to like break or fall apart, or, you know, the relationships are going to end like this. It's actually the beginning of something very beautiful when we get to just strip it down to what is supposed to happen and what we are here to thrive and to live well. Like God wants us to, you know, to be in an amazing, fulfilling life. It is a birthright that we have. And that, again, it looks different to every single one of us, but it is a birthright. And so even though we'll tell ourselves, and I have a lot of clients that will say, oh, but this is going to be hard. Maybe I'll work with you later. I don't know. This seems like a little bit too much work. That is just a myth that is important for us to just keep popping those little bubbles. And I keep popping them for myself. Whenever I hear myself saying this is going to be hard, or, you know, this is just the way it is, I'm like,
coping mechanism.
Yeah. Let's look at that.
It's our way to cope with things when they get hard. And a lot of things that I hear, and this leads us into, we're kind of heading into the top of the hour in our announcement, but a lot of things that I hear from people are, I see people wanting to do it on their own. Like, what books do you recommend? I'll get the book and I'm going to do this on my own. Or I'm going to listen to podcasts. And that's great. There's so many amazing resources out there. And, you know, I have lists of them and I'm going to share them with people. But when it's not as easy when you go it alone, and it takes so much more time than if you had experts that have made it to the other side that are able to help you, and women going through the same thing together. There's so much more power in groups, in women, in coming together than trying to make these changes on your own.
And I'm a huge research geek, but there's also research that now proves that, like that our natural stress response for women in order to solve our problems is we have a beautiful hormonal stress release when we gather together. And so that's usually why you can access your solutions, even if somebody doesn't like tell you the solution or you're not even listening, but just when you get with somebody else, suddenly you've like broken through that log jam. And research now proves this. Like they have followed and seen a hormonal and a brain change of women when they gather for their most biggest stressful challenges. It's that vital for us to gather.
Oh, I totally believe it. Sorry, do you hear that? I totally.
Yeah. It's just saying like, yes, listen.
Yes. Okay. So it's the top of the hour and we have an announcement. And so I want to go ahead and just tell you guys that Sara and I have collaborated together to come together for a weekend retreat. And we're calling it the gift of freedom. And I love that word because when I close my eyes and think about all the things that we've been talking about and how we're going to get there, the word that comes up to me is freedom. That's the word. The other side, like the wall that's between us and whatever it is. So we call it the gift of freedom. And it's a virtual weekend, December 5th and 6th. A conference, a retreat. I like the word retreat. Why am I calling it a conference? Rooted in intuitive eating and self-care. So we did this because, first of all, we know that 2020 has been rough, right? In so many ways. And not to be a Debbie Downer, but we wanted to give you guys some powerful tools to walk into 2021 with because, hey, 2020 is not over and we can start right now with those tools, with everything that Sara talked about. I truly believe that we can end this year on a high note. We don't have to, we're going to put the rest of 2020 behind. So we're going to look forward. We're not looking back. So you're in the right place. I mean, if you're here and you're listening to us, we just want to take a time to take a pause because this year has been really stressful, honestly, and bring you a space to be kind to yourself and give you a container to succeed. And so we put together this weekend and I'm really excited about it. So it's December 5th and 6th. If you want information on it, let us know. I'll leave the link in the comments for you guys. But really, this is for women that want to connect, that are ready for something different, and if that's you, and I know this year's been harder than most, and you're ready to walk into 2021 with some amazing women to connect with and to look forward to. So we've combined our philosophies, our signature philosophies of intuitive eating and this core confidence, so you can have this into a weekend of self-care. So I love some of the things that we have on the schedule. And I'll just kind of run through them.
Radical self-love. All about that radical self-love. The intuition is within us, and our wisdom, our answers, our authenticity, our clarity is within us for our bodies, for our mind, for our spiritual health. And Wendy and I usually kind of operate as individual containers, but both of us throughout this year, since we've met each other, have seen how really the two skills and buckets of coolness that we bring to the table, when you blend them together, is just so much of a more powerful container in order to access this radical self-love and change and freedom, and releasing the overwhelm, releasing the avoidance. And that's what this weekend will be all about.
So if you want to learn more, go to the link in the bio. We have a special gift for you if you register before November 20th. So there's time, but we need registry by that date so that we can send you a goodie box with all of the things that will take you through the weekend with us. So if you want more information.
Oh, Wendy.
Yes.
You all get to be on our meetings that we normally have for 1 second. I'm so excited because somebody who I didn't even think would be able to like craft together this incredible box of everything we want is 100% on board, and she should be emailing me pretty soon, and I'll email it to you, a beautiful picture of everything and kind of like a sample of what it'll look like. So excited because everything that we've been planning is coming together.
Yay. Okay. So we get a gift box. We get to learn how to actually activate our core, our pelvic floor, get out of diet brain and get down here. And then you're going, that's what I always say. Yeah. So learn that intersection between the mind, body, the spiritual, the emotional, put it all together to create that core confidence. Oh, I didn't say we'll be having a lunchtime meal gathering together. So I call this a mealtime simulation. So you'll get some homework prior to, you'll get an email. We'll gather up our food for the meal. We'll gather together and we'll learn how to tap into our bodies together. And then I can't wait for this special decadent chocolate meditation to wrap it all up the evening of the second day, Sunday night, before we roll into the week. Okay, so
it's one of my favorite things.
I'll leave the link. If you have questions below, let me know. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Bye, guys.